Science and Technology, Mamadou Katim Toure, noted that the training is a step in the right direction. The forum, he went on, will build up the capacity for both the students as well as provide the lecturers the opportunity to implement policies in the country's highest learning institute. He believed that the intervention by their Nigerian counterparts will be an added advantage and a multiple effect on the education service delivery in the Gambia. The Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, Dr. Ahmad Jah, highlights the significance of distance learning in modern educational system. He added that distance learning is one of the most widely used learning styles in the world. According to him, it is the only active policy for managing technological barriers.
Distance learning can be more cost-effective. In addition, distance learning may be able to save learners from the economic burden of higher-priced course textbooks. However, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is also important to mention that there can be barriers to effective learning through ODL, including obstacles such as domestic distractions and unavailability of appropriate technology, among others.
To the participants, students and lecturers, Dr. Jah made a strong counsel for them to rely on the usage of the ideas and experiences gained in the training. He concluded by urging all to be serious with the training and be regular and punctual throughout the course of the forum. Participants are already excited about the idea of a distance learning program in the Gambia.
It is meant to increase access to education. And also looking at the Vision 2020, we're just looking forward for us to have intelligent, highly knowledgeable society. Now with this thing, people can have access to education and able to contribute meaningfully to the development of this country.
We will try our best to make sure that we make sure that the process moves on and that it becomes a reality. And at least we will have an open, it could even lead to the University of the Gambia also having its own open university, where you do not need to be there in a physical classroom, and yet you can have your degree.
The program is expected to improve the scope of the extensive service provided by the UTG, an institution growing in capacity at an admirable pace. Famarakani, GRTS News.
Gender inequality impedes the attainment of sustainable national development. Bintu Gassama, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Office of the Vice President, tells participants at a day forum on capacity building and sensitization on Gender and Women Empowerment Policy 2010-2020 and Women's Act 2010. Ominjai reports.
Inequality is significant to improving the socio-economic status of women and marginalized groups. This could be done through access to social services, wages through employment, and control over productive resources, amongst others. The government of the Gambia has always been on the move to take the measures geared towards mainstreaming women and gender in the development process.
We are all aware that the government of the Gambia recognizes gender equity and women empowerment as a key factor to the attainment of social and economic development, and therefore it committed itself to gender equality, empowerment and welfare of women and girls.
Among such measures were the establishment of the National Women's Council and the National Policy for the Advancement of Gambian Women and Girls. This awareness creation workshop is organized by the Women's Bureau at a time when the whole world joined forces to fight for gender equality.
You will recall that the development of gender policy was done in a consultative process involving all stakeholders. Series of consultations were held at national, regional, and the district levels, spearheaded by Women's Bureau. Similar trainings and sensitization programs were also held at grassroots levels to ensure the ownership of the policy and the act.
The Gender and Women Empowerment Policy was consequently developed to adequately address the limitations of the National Policy for the Advancement of Gambian Women 1999 to 2009.
Despite the successes registered in uplifting women and girls' status, the National Policy for the Advancement of Gambian Women had its limitations in terms of current national socio-economic programs and priorities, as well as global development trends.
Gender equity and the empowerment of women still call for more efforts if these critical goals are to be achieved.
Further demonstrating its resolve to women's advancement, the government has also ratified and domesticated key international and regional women's rights conventions and treaties, notably the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the Rights of Women in Africa, and the Solemn Declaration on Gender Equality in Africa, amongst others.
The gender policy intends to establish a clear vision to guide the process of gender mainstreaming and women empowerment. It is also anchored on influencing procedures and practices that will accelerate the achievements of gender equality and the fundamental human rights of women in the Gambia. Ominjai, Grts.
We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break.
Ghana's leading ICT company, assemblers of mobile phones and computers, is now in the Gambia too. We are happy to bring our services to the people of Gambia and look forward to lasting relationship with the state and its people. Come choose from RG's range of phones and computers and enjoy delightful after-sale service and the confidence of warranties that will keep your devices good as new. Visit RG at 62 Caraba Avenue, Circular KSMD, opposite the Pipeline Mass, or check out rlggambia.com for more information.
RLG, proudly yours.
Welcome back. A significant number of Egyptians support the interim government's crackdown on pro-Morsi supporters. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has revealed plans to temporarily cut military aid to the Egyptian administration, a significant move that showed White House condemnation of the military's use of violence on civilians. As Ian Lee reports, there are still Egyptians who support the General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Have been a battleground with deadly clashes between security forces and supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. The military too has its supporters, even if they aren't in the streets. Some are choosing to fight on a different front.
We asked for the army to intervene at some point. We asked for this. Egyptian people asked for the army to intervene.
Timmy Mawafi is the co-founder of Cairo Scene, a lifestyle website with a political edge. Support for the military regime's crackdown on pro-Morsi protesters isn't hard to find in this newsroom and on their website. Here, it's seen as unfortunate but necessary.
It's devastating to think the numbers which have died on either side. But there were armed people on the street. This will not be acceptable in any other country.
Egypt is a country divided as the death toll continues to rise. On one side, you have the military and interim government saying they draw legitimacy from the people, pointing to the millions of protesters who turned out on June 30th demanding Morsi's ouster. On the other side, the Muslim Brotherhood and their allies claim legitimacy from winning previous elections. Both sides see the fate of the country at stake. But the crisis now has some looking for a third option.
Well, personally, I am not with the military, but I am also definitely against the Brotherhood. I do think that we are finishing the revolution. Unfortunately, right now, there's going to be a lot of ugly days to come before we get to that period where we have normalcy in this country.
Despite the large uprising against Morsi, many believe there has to be reconciliation.
I do think, and it's very important, that the Muslim Brotherhood should not be excluded. It should not be driven underground. There needs to be some inclusion.
But with both sides locked in battle, a political solution seems all but impossible. Ian Lee, CNN, Cairo.
He is one of the world's heaviest men, weighing 610 kilograms. That is more than 1,300 pounds. And now Khalid bin Masinsari is getting help from the King of Saudi Arabia. CNN senior medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen reports.
It's not clear how well this is going to work. It won't be easy to help this man lose significant amounts of weight. Meet Khalid bin Masinsari. At 1,345 pounds, he may be the heaviest living man in the world, and he's not even 21 years old. Shari hasn't been able to leave his bedroom for more than 2 years. These pictures show the dramatic moment when he was taken out of his home using a forklift. Part of it had to be demolished to bring him out.
It's obviously an extreme case. The chances that this guy is